The intensity rising here in Royan as we welcome you back to our coverage of WCBU 2017, a power pool clash between two of the greatest women's programs in the world. It's a rematch of the gold medal game from 2 years ago in Dubai. The Russians, who are 8-0, the Americans, who are 8-0. This could very well be a championship preview. This battle for seeding, bragging rights, and who knows, perhaps an edge or two mentally when they meet again on Saturday. With Gigi Morrison, I am Evan Lepler, and Gigi, this is an exciting match. Not everything on the line today, but this is not just going to be a vanilla matchup. These are two teams that are both explosive and eager to show what they can do.
Yeah, 2 years on from an incredible final in Dubai, these teams aren't really looking to just ruin each other. They're looking to kind of test the water, see how each other plays, and hopefully get a good result in the end.
We are less than 2 minutes away from the opening pull. We'll take a quick timeout, and then we'll be ready. USA and Russia, the two top teams in the women's division here in Royan, set to go head-to-head on the beach.
It early. Help us teach kids about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics. Join us and speak up.
Nearly 40 countries competing here in France, and we'll get a good taste of USA and Russia today. In the mixed division, USA and Russia both won earlier this morning. We'll see the USA-Russia mixed quarterfinal later on today. This Russian women's team has not been beaten so far here in France. They've outscored their opponents 90-44, and the Pustavaya sisters, the anchors of this squad.
We've seen the Pustavaya sisters come together very strongly, again in the very same final in Dubai. Unfortunately, Sasha Pustavaya had suffered a knee injury when the score was at 7-7 to bring the game to Universe. And she's feeling good for this tournament. Both of the sisters feeling good, and the entire Russian team looking incredibly strong. USA
also has allowed 44 goals in 8 games, the exact same number as Russia. Becky Malinowski has scored more than anybody else for the USA in terms of goals and assists. Khalees Cardenas has been virtually unguardable as a downfield cutter for the USA O-line. The Americans coached by Mike Whitaker. You see him in the white jersey and the clipboard. Claudia Tajima getting ready to pull for Team USA. And this Russian O-line has not been broken very much in key situations. Mike Whitaker saying before the game, their O-line has been broken way less than ours. Our D-line has gotten more breaks than the Russians. And here we go, our first glimpse at this high-profile matchup. And the Russians on offense, Sasha Pustavaya picked up by Sarah Levin, and an immediate deep shot and an immediate turnover.
An unfortunate long throw there. Sasha not necessarily getting the right amount of touch in that disc, which is uncharacteristic from her.
It's Tajima, Sinacrope, Miller, Ancio, and Levin for the USA D-line on the first point. This is the final power pool game before we head into the pre-quarters. Everyone in the women's division does make it to the pre-quarters. This basically will indicate who's the 1 seed and who's the 2 seed in the bracket, and whether you play 8-9 or 7-10. Whether you're in the same bracket as 4-5 or 3-6. As it stands right now, the winner of this game will face the loser of the Singapore-Austria game. And the loser of this game will face the winner of that one. Can USA break? They can. Just shy of the end zone, actually. Levin with inches left to go. Tajima marked tightly. Tajima over the top. It works. Amber Sinekrope the score. The Boston Brute Squad connection gives the Americans a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, the U.S. working that down the pitch with absolute ease, but with still some intensity from the Russian defense. We had a free American player in the back of the end zone, but Polonskaya, number 23, did so well to mark that out on an unmarked player.
Just the third goal of the tournament for Amber Sinekrope. USA in their last game yesterday taking down Great Britain 13-9. A team that Russia beat 11-9. Great Britain and Spain, the only common opponents so far for the USA and Russia. This Russian team made up of a handful of cosmic girls, the many-time national champs in Russia. Last year, Brilliance won the Russian title for the first time ever. 3 players from that team are on this Russian squad as well. But every team, every player on this Russian squad is a Russian national champion. Akramova shooting it deep in a tremendous layout grab by Aliza Tizik. A name that American fans will get to know. She's going to be part of the Eurostar Tour this summer. A drop, though, near the goal line by Yulia Akramova. And the Russians just a little jittery at the outset here. Nice grab by Megan Liu. And then she throws it away.
Yeah, just going back on Alyssa Tizik. This Eurostars Tour is a compilation of some of the best players from across Europe, and it's got the aim to bring equity and just promote some of the women's quality of ultimate. We've got some of the other players, Katie Forth from GB, as well as Franz Carampi, Olivia Hauser from Austria, Laura Ferolfi from Italy. We've got some incredible names going into this.
Another layout grab by Tizik. Russia looking for the early equalizer. Tizik was going long. A reset. This is Dumanskaya. And the third turnover of the point. When the roster for the Eurostar Tour came out, which were the names, Gigi, that you as a European Ultimate player were most excited to see showcased this summer?
I was quite excited to see names that I didn't know, because we hear a lot in Europe, Iceni names.
This disc sending Megan Liu long, and the size and reach of Olga Podolskaya takes care of business.
Yeah, we hear a lot about the bigger names from Iceni. We have Jackie Verrills, who is an absolutely incredible player. But some of the names I have never heard of, and that's part of what this whole Eurostars Tour is aiming to do, is aiming to promote some of the more unknown teams across Europe and try to develop those teams in their own individual countries.
It is always fun to learn a new name and then watch her and realize, goodness, how did I not know her before? Sasha Pustovaya. Tore her ACL about 4 years ago, had the injury again. Not a serious one. That disc somehow caught by Podolskaya and into the end zone for Akramova. It did not look like the 23 shirt Podolskaya was going to have any business catching that, and yet she plucked it, and the Russians have tied it up. A long 4-turnover battle won by Russia for the early equalizer.
That was a very long point. It's quite a different atmosphere to that of 2 years ago in Dubai. Both of these teams were trading quite early on, and the points were fairly quick, and only towards the end were the points beginning to get longer. But I think that just shows how intense and how hard these ladies are trying to work to get this game in.
The length of this Russian team stands out. You don't see Megan Liu get roofed like that very often, but there was nothing she could do. Podolskaya had the reach and certainly went up for it. We've seen Megan Liu make so many great catches through the course of the tournament. She's really been kind of one of the unsung stars of this women's team so far here in France. First 0 point for the United States. Paige Soper hits Maggie Rudin out there with Howard, Cardenas, and Malinowski. Soper launching. Malinowski's there. And that has been the deadly duo for the United States here in France. Paige Diddy Soper. She's the quarterback. And Malinowski, the Randy Moss, you might say, of Team USA.
Malinowski seems to be an absolute team. As of yet, she's had 13 goals and 11 assists, and obviously she's gaining some more in this game.
Soper forced to float it a little high with the defender in the lane, but trusting Malinowski to make the catch. So 2-1 USA, an easy turnover-free hold from the Americans. Mike Whitaker was saying before the game, the head coach USA, look, we're playing to win, but we're also playing to gather data. We're trying to test matchups. If we do something that really works in this game, we might not necessarily stay with it. We might want to try something else and see if that will work to get as much data as they can, anticipating a possible rematch on Saturday in the finals. The women's final scheduled for Saturday afternoon. It'll be at 12:30 local time here in France, where we are 6 hours ahead of the East Coast in the United States. It is very early on the East Coast, or perhaps some West Coast viewers have stayed up late for us. That disc is going to come back in almost, but not quite enough.
There's a brilliant look from Sasha Pustovaya, but the wind just catching it. She tried to go for that IO, ever so slight air bounce into the wind.
Yeah, there is a slight breeze. Certainly nothing like what we dealt with in Dubai. Looking for Ancio. And the Americans have broke again. A gorgeous throw from Claudia Tajima. Beg your pardon. That was Amber Sinacrope on the backhand huck to Ancio.
It's a beautiful throw, just soaring into the end zone. And Russia really taking their time to get themselves set on the end zone line now. Seeming a little bit tired this morning.
Ancio attacks the disc like very few in the women's game. A relentlessness and ferocity with the way she plays. Several-time national champ in the mixed division in the United States. And Allison Maddox has been a club champ. She'll launch the pull here for the U.S. The Americans with wins over Austria, the UAE, Estonia, Denmark, Australia, Canada, Spain, and GB. They're 8-0. And a 3-1 lead here in the final clash in the power pool. That's Fajardo on the mark, the battle of 27s, Fajardo and Akramova. And now the 27s going deep. Akramova keeps it in bounds. Yulia Akramova, an acrobatic grab. And the Russians back within one.
That's something that we've been seeing all week. A lot of these discs are just catching under the wind and soaring out, but a lot of these athletes are doing so well to maintain their feet in the end zone. We'll get to watch that all over again.
Only needed 1 foot, but she got them both in. Not the exact same catch, but it reminded me of the grab that China Titcomb made in the back of the end zone in Dubai. This one in the side of the end zone, and not nearly as horizontal, but tremendous nonetheless. Some Russian fans have made their way. I believe that's the Russian mixed team that just won on Universe against Spain. A dramatic final point earlier this morning in the mixed pre-quarterfinals. Vinogradova, one of their young female superstars, had a drop on a really tough catch. It would have been a spectacular play. She got both hands on it near the sideline, could not pull it in. She got her revenge. Got the D in the other end zone on a deep shot that could have won it for Spain. And then Vasiliev to Keesley for the win, which sets up a USA-Russia quarterfinal in the mixed division. As Malinowski seeking Rudin. USA is on point. Another easy hold for the American offense.
The USA just trying to keep it nice and simple in this game. I think they're just reading whatever Russia's been doing over the past few days. Obviously, they've been Russia going on an 8-0 run against teams like Spain, Singapore, and Switzerland. They've been playing incredibly well, but the USA they just know how to maintain their structure.
Well, the USA women have not been totally untested here, like in perhaps some other years. They were taken to Universe by Denmark 10-9. The Australia game was 10-8. The Canada game was 12-9. USA has a slight edge in point differential because they've scored more goals. But again, entering this game, each team had played 8, and each team had allowed exactly the same number, which indicates how even I think they are. And Mike Whitaker, the coach of USA, basically characterized it like that before the game. He said, they are our equal. We are not the favorite. They have proven, especially in the final in Dubai, a game that absolutely could have gone either way. The Russians taking silver. And you know, that game could have been different if Sasha Pustovaia had not gotten hurt midway through. This team continues to make athletic catches. 2 targets in the area. Podolska and Tizik, and they're going to call it a goal. It was very close, but the benefit of the doubt given to Team Russia and their first turnover-free offensive hold. Their second turnover-free offensive hold, I should say.
That's a very similar bid that we've seen from Tizik before, not only in this game, but you can watch back the game that they played against Germany on Monday. Tizik making so many bids, and Podolskaya also contesting for the same disc, and thankfully one of them came out with it.
That's not the ideal pattern for a deep cut, but it worked out on this occasion. Well, it's going to be a tremendous day here on the beach. The anti-penultimate day of competition. The first finals will be tomorrow. The women's mixed and men's finals on Saturday. Malinowski, another grab. She landed on the line, a straddle. So Malinowski did not have Cardenas, tried to commit to the dump, needs the reset. And Soper to Howard in the end zone.
That's the kind of end zone patience that a lot of teams need to take on a bit more. The USA just taking their time. They did have an isolated player, which was being incredibly marked out, and just waiting for that dump to pop off and create an extra bit of space, an extra few seconds to reset the disc.
It is great to see Cree Howard back on the field. She was relegated to coaching status as she recovered from her knee injury suffered a while back. Had the game-winning score in the finals 2 years ago on an inside flick break from Anna Nazaroff, who was supposed to be on this U.S. team as well, but she made the World Games squad, and that took priority. And this USA women's team was hit hard by that World Games roster. Carolyn Finney Leanne Hoffman, Claire Chastain, and Anna Nazaroff. An error from Russia will give USA a chance to strengthen its lead. When those four could not stay on the team, Lauren Sadler, Ness Fajardo, Megan Liu, and Sarah Miller joined the 2017 cause here in France. And this is Fajardo, and that is a good throw. Patient, pivoting, and finding the target in the end zone that was open. And so far, USA doubling up Russia 6-3. Sarah Levin, the O-line cutter for Austin, Texas showdown with a score.
Yeah, this US squad is looking quite different to that of the one in Dubai. There's only 5 returning players on the roster that I could see. We've got players such both Titcombs aren't here. Claire Chastain, Anna Nazaroff, as you mentioned before, aren't here. But this US team is still incredibly competent. We know how experienced all of these ladies are on grass and on beach.
Malinowski, Tajima, Howard, Fajardo, and Miller, the 5 Americans that have played for the women's team both in Dubai and here in France. Of course, there's a very different feel here in France compared to what we saw in Dubai. And I'm not just talking about the surroundings and the skyline and the wind. I think in every division, the Americans have been pushed more here in France than they were in Dubai. Only losing 1 game in Dubai, the entire USA delegation. That was the mixed team falling by 1 point in the semifinals. So far, we've seen the mixed team fall twice here in pool play. The American men were pushed to the brink by Spain yesterday. The American women had tight games with Denmark and Australia. It's great to see that growing international strength and parity. And obviously, when you face USA, it's the biggest game. Nothing sweeter than knocking off the Americans, and unfortunately, plays like that are going to prevent Russia from doing so.
Yeah, I was chatting with some of the media team yesterday who'd watched the USA-Spain women's game yesterday, and apparently the USA was saying that despite the scoreline being 12-7, Spain had pushed them harder than some of the other teams that they played previously.
Tough catch with the left hand, Ancio. Sinekrop back to Tajima. International teams have typically played more high-level competitive beach ultimate than the top American players, and that is certainly a factor. Obviously, the Philippines have dedicated their lives to the beach, and it shows. I think there's a lot of people here in France that are rooting for the Philippines to win gold in at least 1 or 2 divisions. Was that a clean hand block? There certainly was a call. Sinekrop and Pustovaya discuss. And Amber Sinekrop is not a woman. And that, I say that just to show you the length and reach of Pustovaya. Just one of the reasons why she's elite. Ooh. Sinekrop was certainly on her way to releasing it out of her hand. The question is,
that when you turned her over, she just moved here. I feel like she came around me this way. She turned over, and she just also turned over.
Now the captains have to come in because it's been over 30 seconds.
Sorry. Yes, yes.
Okay.
So, do you retrieve the call or you stay with the call?
It's contested.
Okay.
what do you think, Gigi?
It's quite difficult to call. If she was on her way to releasing it, she still may have control of the disc, and obviously that's knocked out of her hand, and that's a strip. But her contesting it is probably the best thing to do at this point. They're not going to get any sort of agreement anytime soon.
Maybe they should come over here, take a look at the replay, see if that helps. I don't know. I think it's very, very close. I think an observer might have overruled the foul call and given it to the Russians. But obviously, each observer has his own pair of eyes, or her own pair of eyes. Americans take half. Ancio with another score, and it's 7-3. Not that the particular call is going to be the difference in this game, it appears, but you never know. You know, there's such a fine line between when the disc is released from your hand. Here's the drop from Akramova at one end, and here's the contested foul. Certainly looked like it was on its way out. Maybe she still had a hand on it, but she definitely had removed some of the fingers from. Well, it's over now. 7-3 USA. By 4. USA only turned it over 2 times in that first half. Both were on the same point, the second point of the game. We had 5 turnovers in the first 2 points, GG, and only 3 turnovers over the last 8. Fortunately for Russia, all 3 turns in the last 8 points have been committed by them, and the Americans have capitalized every time.
Yeah, I think Russia needs to just wake up a little bit more. It's quite a tiring week. Beach is a very exhausting game.
Howard through the contact, looking for Malinowski. A gorgeous shot from Cree Howard. And Malinowski again just makes it look easy. 8-3 USA in this power pool showdown with Russia. What's the strategy to try to stop this? Anything you can do?
Russia just seemed a little bit slow this morning. I've seen them play so much better than this against an incredibly similar team. And I know that they can bring it up a notch. It's all about the defense at this point. If they do turn over, they just need to wake up and keep on going through. Because we've seen so many deep shots from the USA and a trailing Russian player.
Well, so far it's 8-3. USA with only 2 turnovers. Russia has turned it over 6 times. There are a lot of games you can get away with 6 turnovers and 11 points. But probably not against the USA, especially if it's not viciously windy.
It sounds like the US are doing a forced middle.
We've seen that a lot from this USA women's team. They employed it against Great Britain in pool play here on this field. Akramova to the end zone, and that was Podolska with a gorgeous shot connecting with Dumanska.
Dumanska is so tall. She towers over so many of these American ladies. The Russian team in general having an extra few inches of height. And that's something that they should utilize a lot more.
It's a great point, because that might be their greatest advantage in this matchup. This goal snapped a 4-0 USA run. Dina Dumanska. Throughout the tournament, she's done more assisting than scoring. That's her second goal. She had 10 assists through the first 8 games for Russia. Again, this is not elimination. This is an experiment. Singapore and Austria, two of the weakest teams in the women's division, await these two teams for a probable bludgeoning in the pre-quarterfinals. Malinowski on the under, showing off her throwing abilities too. Cardenas makes it look easy. Quick strike attack from the USA.
The USA seem to they play very differently to a lot of the European teams here. I think we see with the popularity of AUDL and the college teams, a lot of the points are so much faster. It's always dump off to a handler and huck it. And the receivers are so much stronger, and that's something that we don't usually have in Europe as frequently.
Malinowski illustrating her versatility as a thrower as well as a target. And I'm sorry, but Khalees Cardenas just may be the fastest women's ultimate player in the world. Meaning and consequence to this game. It's an international play, any opportunity you get to learn, to compete, and to play a high-profile matchup. Tizik able to get it to the 71 shirt. Voronkova. Pustovaya. Voronkova digging it out just before it hit a granule of sand.
I think that's Voronkova's first score of the game, but she's had plenty in this tournament so far. She's had 10 goals and 11 assists as of yet, and that was an incredible point for her.
Several nice grabs. The Russians giving a glimpse of what they're capable of, and yet another assist for Sasha Pustovaya.
She looked visibly frustrated at that throw. She knew it was low. But just from that, she could trust her teammates to receive that.
It has been a much more balanced attack from Russia this time around than it was in Dubai. Pustovaya still as impactful as ever, but that was her 13th assist of this tournament. She had 32 assists in Dubai. She had basically half of her team's assist total. Not quite that many, but it felt like it. Leading the tournament in that category 2 years ago. It's like the wind has just ticked up a couple of notches. USA is going into that breeze right now. Fajardo and Liu, the handlers. Malinowski, Rudin, and Howard downfield. And Fajardo turns it over. 4 San Francisco Fury players on this line, with Malinowski, the Boston resident. Russia looking for its first break of the game. And Gigi, that was the first turnover for the United States since the score was 1-0.
Yeah, it was execution error on the throw, a bit of a misjudgment of the wind, throwing its ever so slight high release going upwind, and that's just going to pick the disc up.
Fajardo on the mark, helps to get the disc back. Mag and Liu bumped, uncontested. Xenia Yasalova on the mark. One of the youngest players in the tournament. She just finished high school, around 19 years of age. Rising star in Russia, 88 Zhenya Yasalova. This is Rudin to Howard. Up the line, Maggie Rudin bouncing into the end zone. It's game to 13, and the Americans are closing in. Throughout the tournament, the U.S. women's team have taken to calling themselves WUSA for the Women's USA. The men's teams have called themselves MUSA. And interestingly, the USA medical team has taken on a moniker of their own. You have MUSA and WUSA, and they call themselves Medusa. And if you look directly at a U.S. athletic trainer, there's a chance you could turn to stone.
I could sense that one coming with Medusa. The USA so far, they've come out so strong.
I'm not sure I've ever seen Tom Stiles so tickled sitting behind us. He really appreciated that creativity from the U.S. medical staff. This is the second of 6 games that you will see from the show pitch today. Another USA-Russia matchup with much more on the line coming up. 12:30 local time here. An hour 45 from now. A mixed quarterfinal.
Russia now looking a lot more fired up. I think the U.S. defense, similar to a forced middle, they know how much Russia love using that break side.
A clean offensive point for the Russians. Pustovaya certainly involved, and Dumanska, number 44, with the score. The women have a very busy day here on the beach. They play this final pool play power pool crossover, and they have pre-quarters at 13:40, 1:40 this afternoon, and then they have quarters at 5:10, 17:10 this afternoon. So by the end of the day, we'll have gone from 16 women's teams down to 4. And we're still not in the bracket quite yet. So it's a grueling day, and you certainly could understand if either one of these teams took their foot off the gas just a little bit here. We'll have a women's quarterfinal on the show pitch at 17:10 local time. And there's another mistake from Ness Fajardo. So Russia with a chance to get within 3 here. Rest of the day going to be super exciting. We've got a mixed quarterfinal, USA and Russia. We'll have a men's quarterfinal between the Philippines and Spain. And then a mixed, and then a men's, and then a women's quarter, and then a men's semi to be determined. And the Russians are making a run. That's the first break for Team Russia.
Yeah, they'll be riding high on that break there. Their energy seems to have picked up a little bit more. There's a lot more smiles on the pitch, and there was a great defensive matchup between Inga Zulumova and Maggie Rudin. Inga doing so well to just mark her out and get that D there. There was a miscommunication on Rudin's cut.
Margarita Parshukova with a layout grab and the assist. Ekaterina Badiajina with a score. So 10-7 here. Anna Pustovaya prepared to pull. The Americans with Rudin, Soper, Howard, Malinowski, and Cardenas. This has been the go-to quintet for Coach Mike Whitaker when the team needs an offensive hold. Cree Howard, a veteran of Team USA. Clearly in no particular hurry to tap this in, nor should she be. You can see a little bit extra kick in the step of the Russians. That disc a little too hot, though, out of the hands of Soper. We've seen that occasional mistake from her. Her throws are so vividly spectacular, but every once in a while she will just launch one. And on the sand, you can forget how even your fastest cutter, not nearly as spry as on the grass.
We've seen that. To adjust your throws when you're so used to grass ultimate.
The wind has picked up a bit, you can see from the flags, and the upwind throw incomplete. How clean of a game has this been? Well, in 18 points, only 3 of them have included multiple turnovers. A tribute to the quality and precision of both of these squads. And Howard, the inside flick to Cardenas. Khalees, a long-time star on Seattle Riot. Curious, Gigi, you've grown up in the UK watching Women's Ultimate. I'm sure you've watched some USA Women's Ultimate. Do you have a favorite USA Women's club team?
I wouldn't say I have a favorite club team, no. I just kind of, I haven't really gotten into the US scene as much just because
Sure.
in Europe it's developing so much and there's so many up and coming teams there that I've only recently started to be able to kind of pay attention to that side. It's like a European Championships
Sure.
last year held in Frankfurt. We were, whenever we'd finish our games, we'd go back to the hotel because of the time zone difference, we'd be able to watch US Nationals, and that was great fun. I got to watch some of Fury games, and those athletes are just second to none. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is the peak for so many of these players. The point of the year where everyone is building towards. Last year in Rockford, Boston Brute squad winning for the 2nd year in a row. Many of these players on Team USA have won a club title, and some are still searching for that national glory. Pustavaya marked by 11. Defensively against Sasha Pustavaya. There are a lot of matchups the USA has, but working hard on the mark.
A fair few picks coming up in this point.
Dumanska. Sizzles that throw to Akramova, and one more, the layout score. Russia has certainly stabilized. After falling behind 8-3, they're right back in the mix. Certainly, they've woken up.
They've adjusted very well. certainly getting used to this US defense, and I think they've just gained a little bit more confidence in their throws, because that's something that they were missing. They were throwing things but not necessarily knowing whether it was the right option, not fully trusting their receiver, and the last few points have shown that they can do that. And the US defense is so difficult to work around. They can maintain the disc at the back for so long until someone just makes that one little error to make the mistake, and Russia did so well to adjust.
11-8, USA leads Russia. These two teams are both undefeated in the tournament. Gigi, if there was one country who was perhaps going to knock off and surprise one of these teams and prevent us from seeing a rematch in the gold medal game, who would you think has a chance in the women's division?
I've been seeing some incredible things from the Spanish women's team.
Well, there's a quick break. USA turned it over early and the Russians respond, so all of a sudden it's 11-9 and this thing is not over yet. The Spanish women you mentioned, they went 6-1 in Pool A, beating Canada, Denmark, Estonia, Australia, UAE, and Austria. The only loss to USA, and the score was 12-7. Beg your pardon. No, that's correct. The score was 12-7. Both USA and Russia beat Spain by that margin.
This is actually their first time that they've managed to get a team out to Beach Worlds. And we've spoken to a couple of the players on the show pitch before. They've been streamed already, and the Spanish women are incredible.
Well, we have 3 fields streaming here from the beach in Royan. Fanseat.com is your home for fields 2 and 3, where some spectacular ultimate has been played over the past 4 days.
You can watch back a lot of the teams on a lot of the games on Fanseat, and they've actually got a really great collection of tournaments that have been streamed. So they have tournaments out in Ireland, like the Siege of Limerick. They've got some tournaments from the UK. So we have our tour events. A lot of our national teams come together and play against each other. We have another 2 coming up in July, and you can watch that over on Fanseat. The games are being streamed.
If, let's say, the game you wanted to watch was occurring in an hour of the day back home where you're not normally awake, Fanseat.com, and you can get a free month trial. So I would also encourage you to support Fanseat for all the great work they have done here in Royan and will continue to do through the next few days. Everything intensifying as we head into bracket play. Soper looking for Cardenas. She's got it, but needs at least one more throw for the score. Dump to Malinowski. Nice job by Cardenas creating space, and Cree Howard was fouled trying to make her cut by Valeria Pichugina. So Howard, I believe a violation was called, and before the disc was tapped back in. You see Howard has a good couple steps on her defender, and Pichugina is eager to make those steps up. And now Howard takes the reset roll. Stall count rising on Malinowski, and she will get it to Howard, who is bumped from behind. I have a feeling this point might impact Russia's spirit score. Howard and Pichugina conversing. It is a goal, though. 12-9 USA. They're within 1 of a win. Certainly a conversation and a minor altercation that will fester as these two teams might see each other again.
Parshakova on the force on the sideline there. Really got the stall count very, very high. Possibly getting closer to 9 or 10.
You see Howard turn around immediately and firmly stating her case with a smile on her face, as you'll usually find Cree Howard in the smiling pose. A break would win it for USA. Russia trying to go upwind and hold. What would be your takeaways from this game for the Russians?
Russia just needs to bring the intensity early on in the game.
They've shown late in the game exactly what they can do from a skill standpoint, going toe-to-toe and striking fast. Lisa Tizik, who had a couple of the breathtaking early bids for Russia, with the easy score there on a great throw.
Yeah, what we saw out in Dubai 2 years ago was that both of these teams were incredibly evenly matched. The score just trading the whole way, and the game having to end up at universe points. But this time around, even though it's still pool games, so it's easy to kind of falter at the start. Russia coming in with a much lower energy, much lower, just feeling a bit more lackluster. And they're starting to bring it back. They're really driving up.
The pull will go to the brick mark as it sails wide. And the same five that we've gotten used to out there for the U.S. offensive line. Soper to pick up with Howard, Rudin, Cardenas, and Malinowski. Soper for Rudin. Malinowski looking for Cardenas for the game, and it's knocked away. Great defense from Ekaterina Badiagina.
Beautiful defensive pressure. She knew what that disc would have costed for the entire Russian team, and she did it for her country so well.
Well, if Russia could go downwind here, things would get very juicy. Great defense from Badiagina on Cardenas. There certainly is a mental edge to be gained by every wrinkle that we see here down the stretch. Sulimova picks up. Tizik out of the reach of Badiagina that time. So USA virtually in the red zone already. Of course, on the beach field, it basically is two red zones with a 5-yard middle section. Soper drops the hammer. Howard dropped it! Trying to think of the last time I saw that from Cree Howard, and nothing comes to mind.
You could see them signaling there. I think that was Malinowski in the end zone, signaling with her hands up, just trying to get some sort of overhead.
Soper's bid takes out Tizik, but she holds on to the disc. It's just the second point of the game in which the USA is.
So much pressure from the US now. They're so loud on the sideline.
Oh, incredible grab by, I beg your pardon, Kova downfield, but there was a call limping for a moment.
It sounds like it was an injury call. She might have hurt herself in making that bid to save the disc.
That was a scintillating grab by Badiajina, who got the D on Cardenas earlier.
Badiajina now signaling with the hands on the back of her head, the hand signal for injury call.
Here it is. Pizik and Badiajina. So Podolska with the she's off screen to the right behind the play along with Maggie Rudin.
Russian line. All they need is that one massively strong handler and a receiver just streaking deep. I think we could see Tizik going deep with Sasha Pustavaya on disc. That would be incredible.
It's a great description of Sasha Pustavaya, massively strong handler. One of the best in the world, especially on this surface. Lose bid unsuccessful, but just perhaps maybe it impacted the ensuing throw. Tizik's toss into the ground. Another chance for USA to close this out. Their third chance on this point. Howard's throw, leaping catch by Rudin. Cardenas looking high for Malinowski, and she read it well. USA takes it over Russia 13-10. Handing the Russians their first loss here on the beaches of Royan. But very, very likely we could see these teams again on Saturday in the finals. That would be about 50 hours from now.
Both of these teams actually gaining some more information on each other, because the rosters are certainly different to 2 years ago, so you cannot make any sort of judgment.
USA has 5 players returning from 2 years ago. The Russians have 6. The majority of both teams are new. And in their first collision here in France, USA 13, Russia 10. What do you think the USA will take away from this game, especially considering that Russia really pushed them in the second half?
I think the USA know that if they were to come across Russia again, to just pull out strong right at the start. Try and get some points on the boards right at the beginning, just to give an element of separation. Because if we know from this game, Russia started off slow, but they did bring it back really well. And there's Tizik, the Eurostars athlete.
Great catch near the sideline there. Maggie Rudin helping to lead the USA offensive line, and they did just enough. They got a little shaky down the stretch, but over the course of 23 points, USA superior on this day. Will there be another day for both of these squads to go head-to-head? That'll be determined over the next 48 hours. For Gigi Morrison, Evan Lepler saying so long for now, but USA-Russia mixed less than 90 minutes away.